Good afternoon. I'm here with Mayor Turner, as well as his chief, Jeff Linder, and Mark Sloan here. So we will give some updates. Here we go again. This has been a tough year for us, but so far we've escaped extreme weather from hurricane season. Of course, now in the third year anniversary of Hurricane Harvey, we're facing the threat of a potential hurricane bearing down on us. The good news and the bad news is that Laura is still somewhat unpredictable. Here's where we're at right now. Thankfully, any substantial threats from Marco to our region have receded. We expect it's coming ashore, will have minimal impacts in our area, maybe some light showers and thunderstorm. We must now focus on Laura. Laura is expected to strengthen to a hurricane tomorrow, making landfall very early Thursday morning, somewhere between Freeport, Texas, south of Houston, and Lake Charles, Louisiana. Depending on where it goes, it could have minimal impact in our region, or it could have very significant storm surge. The bottom line is this. This is not Harvey. This is not Imelda. This is not Allison. This is Laura. Every storm is different, and we urge folks not to use any prior storm as a template for what could or will happen. What we need to do is prepare for the worst. What we do know is that the storm, we see a higher potential for surge impact, not so much the potential for flooding, but the impact of wind. And if that happens, we have to remember what we've said before, which is that we hide from the wind and we run from storm surge, from seawater. That is what will guide our decision making here. If we see that seawater, that surge, then it would come time to take other steps. We're no strangers to emergencies here in Harris County. Since March, we've been activated for COVID-19, so we've been exercising that muscle memory of emergency response. Over the past few weeks, we've been in close touch with state, local, federal partners, fire, police, flood control, transportation, etc. I've been in touch with other governments around the region, so we're not making decisions in our own silos. The Red Cross is prepared to open emergency shelters. If sheltering is required, folks should not fear visiting those shelters. They've worked with FEMA, with the CDC to take all precautions related to COVID-19. We're preparing for possible debris removal. We've pre-designated areas for staging, response, and recovery resources if necessary. We're in touch with Centerpoint for restoring power if that were to become an issue. Pollution Control is ready to deploy their emergency monitoring team for air and water pollution monitoring to make sure we hold folks accountable. We've been in touch with school districts. We're leaving no stone unturned with our preparation. And now it is your turn, the community's turn. Right now, residents across Harris County and in our region should be making preparations for landfall of a hurricane. That's what we need to be prepared for. I've always said our strategy should never be to hope for the best. We don't have the luxury of time, so the time to prepare is right now. We can't wait for another forecast hoping it's going to improve. Make sure you have a full tank of gas, that you have supplies for your home, including medications, PPE, face coverings, hand sanitizer. Think about what you may need if there were prolonged power outages. Don't forget about your pets, your furry friends. For folks living along the coast, listen to your local elected officials about if and when to evacuate should that become necessary. We won't have a clear forecast until probably tomorrow morning, so the turnaround will be very quick. Anyone along the coast should prepare as if you were going to be asked to evacuate. You should be ready to go at a moment's notice and take evacuation orders seriously. Visit and register for Ready Harris alerts at readyharris.org, and there's all manner of resources there for you to look at. Time right now is the most precious resource, so let's not waste it. To the residents of Harris County, once we get a clearer idea from the forecast of whether we'll be in the direct hit path or not, we'll have just a matter of hours to make preparations. So remember that. Please take advantage of time now. We'll get through this together. We always shine brightest in the toughest times. And so we're going to continue pulling together. No one has grit quite like Harris County. And we'll come out of this stronger no matter what comes our way. Stay safe. Stay tuned. Thank you so much. And thank you, Mayor, for your leadership and for being here. We'll hear from Mayor Turner, then I'll repeat my remarks in Spanish, and everybody here will be available for questions.
Thank you, Judge. And let me just say that I agree with all of the remarks that you have said in terms of preparation. So I will try not to repeat what you have already said. And thank you for your leadership. We find ourselves here again, but the good news is that we are battle tested, and so we are ready to deal with this situation as well. I'm here today with Chief Buning of the Office of Emergency Management. We have already activated OEM, and it will remain activated until both of these storms have passed through our area. Chief Pena is also here with the Houston Fire Department, and I want to say that all of our departments are now actively engaged in their preparation. And quite frankly, everyone should have already started making preparations. This is kind of historic with two storms coming into the Gulf. I agree with what Judge Hidalgo said. Marco, it seems this now is a non-factor, and so we are all focusing on Laura. Let me just say that, until there is more certainty, we're all carefully watching this storm, and we will know sometime tomorrow about which direction it's going to take, whether or not we're going to be directly in play or whether or not it is going to be to the east and then go up north. We do not anticipate this storm to stall. From all indications, it will come through. Probably about late Wednesday, could be about the midnight hour or so, and then somewhere between, let's say, 8, 9, 10 o'clock that morning on Thursday, it should be to our north. So we don't anticipate it to stall. I want to reemphasize what Judge Hidalgo said. This is not Harvey. Okay, this is not anticipated to be a heavy rain event. So this is not Harvey. It's not Tropical Storm Imelda, and this is Laura that we are dealing with. Let me just also reemphasize the importance of us being prepared to monitor the weather reports, just like we are doing that. You should be doing it, so you will know where things are. But monitor the weather reports and certainly be prepared. We do expect this to be somewhat of a wind event, and so to the extent people, we're not necessarily telling people to board up their windows or anything like that, but if you want to just have some supplies available just in case, and we'll have a better sense tomorrow, then that's fine. But be prepared. Have some food that won't spoil in case the power goes out. You don't want to have a refrigerator full of meat, for example. And so make sure you're taking care of that. And because we've already been doing so much as it relates to COVID, quite frankly, most folk already have taken some steps in being prepared, social distancing and all of that. So you're going to add some other things to your hurricane preparedness kit, and that will be the mask, and that will be the sanitizer and the wipes. All of those things should be a part of your hurricane preparedness kit. Let me just say, because this will be more so, if it comes this way, a wind event, Public Works will not necessarily be putting out the barricades this time. And I want to underscore that because we don't want things to turn into a missile, so to speak. And so you may not see the barricades out as much. Doesn't mean you shouldn't be cautious and very careful, but we are concerned by the fact that this could potentially be more of a wind event. And so let me encourage you, one of the things in your preparation around your house, if there are certain things that can, that the wind can grab a hold of and send it flying. You want to remove those type of events or tie down those type of events, that type of preparation. So kind of look around your house, and if there are things that could turn into a missile, so to speak, you want to remove those type of things. You want to tie down certain things, patio furniture, for example, that can start flying, all of those type of things. So look around your house because this will be more so like a wind event. We are very sensitive to our homeless population that's on the street, and so I've asked my team to start planning to work to remove to have them transition from the streets into some of the shelters that exist across the city. So we want to make sure that we don't leave anybody behind. The same thing with regards to seniors, especially people who are living alone, people in our disability community. Please check on them. And then I would encourage, for example, seniors and those with the disability community to take advantage of the STEER program, where you can register and you can call 211 to do that, because we certainly want to know where you are and what your needs may be. So please take advantage of doing that. And then let me just say, because we won't know until tomorrow, but there are certain areas that may start engaging in voluntary evacuation programs, whether it's Galveston, whether it's Chambers County, whether it's Port Arthur. We do anticipate there to be more traffic, let's say on our freeways heading west. And that could possibly start tomorrow, going into tomorrow night. And so let me encourage Houstonians, especially starting tomorrow night going into Wednesday, to kind of be prepared, depending on what we know tomorrow, to kind of stay off the road, so to speak, into Wednesday, Tuesday night, Wednesday, to allow, for example, if people are going to be evacuating either from Port Arthur, from Chambers to Galveston County, to the extent that is called for, to allow them to kind of get through. And so, and I'm specifically speaking about, for example, on Tuesday going into Wednesday, and you'll get more information about that. But I simply wanted to make people aware of that, such that from coming along those areas, that we allow them an access through the city of Houston in preparation for this storm. But again, be prepared, be prepared, be prepared. A part of your hurricane kit, put some patience in there. You don't have to go to the store to get that. So put some patience in your hurricane kit, and then add a little bit of faith. Do a little bit of praying that it kind of stays to the east, and then I think your hurricane preparedness kit will be complete. So if we'll do that, we'll get through it. The confidence that I have, Judge, is that this has been an incredible year, and when we've been through so much, but I believe people are prepared to do what they need to do to get us through this moment. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll repeat my remarks in Spanish very briefly. Ha sido un año bastante difícil para todos nosotros, pero hasta ahora, gracias a Dios, hemos evitado tiempos severos en esta temporada de huracanes. Ya vemos que se acerca el tercer aniversario del huracán Harvey. Ya estamos viendo la amenaza de un huracán aquí en nuestras costas. Las buenas noticias y las malas noticias son que la tormenta tropical Laura todavía ve mucha incertidumbre. El pronóstico es bastante incierto. Lo que sabemos en este momento es que las amenazas sustanciales de Marco ya se han reducido. Básicamente tendrá impactos mínimos en nuestra área, tal vez algunas lluvias, pero no mucho impacto. Ahora el enfoque debe ser en Laura. Laura se fortalecerá mañana, se convertirá en un huracán, y temprano el jueves llegará puede ser desde Freeport al sur de Houston hasta Luisiana. Entonces, dependiendo de dónde aterrice ese huracán, veremos los impactos a nuestra región. lo más importante que recordar, una de las cosas más importantes, no es Harvey, no es Imelda, no es Allison, esta tormenta es Laura. No debemos intentar compararla ni basar nuestra preparación en lo que hemos hecho para otras tormentas. Lo que tenemos que hacer es prepararnos para lo peor, estar listos para la situación más difícil. Sabemos que esta tormenta será más un evento de viento, no hay mucha amenaza de inundaciones. Entonces, cuando es esa la situación, el tema es escondernos del viento, quedar en casa, escondernos del viento, pero evacuar si es que va a haber amenaza de vientos, de inundaciones en la costa, dado a las olas y el agua de la costa. Entonces, ese sería el pronóstico más problemático, es si llegaran esos vientos ciclónicos, esa marea que llevara agua de mar a las áreas de la costa. Ya estamos bastante acostumbrados a las emergencias aquí en el condado Harris. Como hemos venido prepararnos para el COVID-19, estamos ya activados, hemos ejercitado ese músculo pues de responder a las emergencias. Hemos estado en contacto con nuestros socios a nivel local, estatal, federal. Directamente yo he estado hablando con los otros niveles de gobierno a lo largo de nuestra región, las ciudades, los condados vecinos, para que estemos todos trabajando mano a mano. La Cruz Roja está preparada para abrir refugios también. Si fueran necesarios los refugios, no teman, sepan que la Cruz Roja se ha estado preparando con el gobierno federal, con la CDC, con FEMA, para estar listos para hacer refugios en el tiempo de COVID. También nos hemos preparado para remover cualquier escombro, preparando la gestión de escombros si hubiera ser necesario eso. Estamos preparándonos para apagones también. Todas las preparaciones las estamos haciendo, inclusive control contra contaminación. Nuestro departamento del control contra contaminación está lista para medir el impacto de cualquier contaminación a aire o al agua. Hemos estado en contacto con los distritos escolares, en fin. Ahora es tiempo para ustedes, para que la comunidad también nos ayude a prepararse. En este momento deben estar preparados para que llegue un huracán. No tenemos mucho tiempo, entonces el momento de preparación es ahora mismo. Por favor, asegúrese que tenga lleno el tanque de gasolina para su auto, que tenga suficientes necesidades en su casa, que tenga medicamentos, coberturas faciales, comida no perecedera. Piense qué haría si se fuera la luz, si se fuera la energía, eso es probable. Cuide también a sus mascotas. Para cualquier persona viviendo a lo largo de la costa, escuche a sus líderes locales en cuanto a evacuaciones, si fuera necesario y cuándo. Cualquier persona a lo largo de la costa, por favor, prepárese como si fuera a decírsele que evacuara. Esté listo para evacuar rápidamente, porque el pronóstico no lo tendremos claro sino hasta mañana en la mañana. Y en ese momento va a ser solamente una cuestión de horas antes de tener que decir, ok, sí, toca evacuar para aquellas personas viviendo a lo largo de la costa. Todos los recursos están en readyharris.org. Entonces, en este momento, lo más valioso que tenemos realmente es el tiempo. Tiempo para prepararnos, para comprar toda la comida, los materiales que necesitemos, estar también listos para que a medida que fuera necesario evacuar ciertas personas viviendo en la costa, nosotros más hacia el centro podemos ver más tráfico, particularmente en la I-10. Entonces tener en mente todo eso y saber que esto lo pasaremos juntos. Nuestra comunidad siempre logra pasar estos momentos difíciles, siempre unidos. En cuanto sepamos con más claridad el pronóstico mañana temprano, se lo comunicaremos. Estén atentos a las noticias locales también, por favor, y manténganse seguros. Vamos a pasar esto todos juntos con fuerza y adelante, pero por ahora, por favor, a prepararse, porque el tiempo es el recurso más preciado que tenemos. No desperdiciemos ese tiempo. Gracias. Great, we'll now take questions. Any of the folks here will be ready to take questions.
I have some questions here. I think this is going to be for Mayor Turner. Given the severe weather threat in Louisiana, any plan at this point to bring Louisiana evacuees to Houston area?
There are no there are no plans at this time, but I am sure, and everybody is monitoring the situation there. I have not had an opportunity to talk, for example, with any of the mayors in Louisiana, particularly Shreveport and New Orleans, but we are certainly keeping tabs on what happens there. What I can tell you, for example, even as it relates to Texas, you've got a situation where Port Arthur people may be evacuating, sometime tomorrow. And I don't know if that's voluntary or involuntary, Mark. I think you can speak to that. But we want to make sure that we provide easy access for people who may be flowing through, traveling through our areas. As it relates to Louisiana, our hearts and prayers are certainly going out to them, and they're getting hit, hard. And then we'll see what happens with this particular storm as well. So right now we're all kind of working our way through it. And then let's see what happens with our where Laura goes, and then we can go from there.
Thank you. From Fox 26, how much has the city of Houston changed its approach to severe weather today versus 3 years ago?
Well, every storm is different, and as we've indicated, this is not Harvey. This is not a Harvey event. Harvey event was primarily a rain event. This one, for example, will be more so rain, possibly some surge in some areas, but more wind. It will be more of a wind event than a rain event. We are certainly more prepared than we were 3 years ago. There are more high water, for example, rescue teams. There's much more equipment that existed last time around. So we learned a lot from Hurricane Harvey. But again, you cannot compare Harvey with what we are dealing with on this in this particular case. But what we do know, preparation, and making sure that we provide information to people in a timely fashion so that they can adequately prepare and then act and then move accordingly.
Thank you. Will the possibility of severe weather increase or decrease the spread of COVID-19?
So remember, right now is a double crisis, right? Is COVID and potentially as well this hurricane, this possible hurricane that's coming in our direction. One thing that we've thought about very, very carefully, and the Red Cross has been preparing for months now, is what sheltering would look like. So this is not a situation where we would have the same kind of shelters we're used to, right? Where it's completely open space and no division between folks. And that's one way where we want to make sure that COVID-19, we've taken all the precautions, is having sheltering strategies that are going to take that into account. We also think about COVID-19 when it comes to evacuations. We are at a point where we feel comfortable saying we got to watch the forecast, wait until tomorrow, at least for our areas here in Harris County. But the other consideration is you're asking folks to leave, stay with friends and family. That is additional exposure. So we're thinking about all of these things, weighing, the risks. Overall, though, we are preparing for each contingency, and what we need the community's help with is to do the same. On the COVID side, making sure you have a mask, you have hand sanitizers, you have the hygiene supplies that you need, that you were to need, were there to be power outages. On the general storm preparation side, that there is that plan for, okay, if I live along the coast, if I'm asked to evacuate, where would I go? How could I do that safely? Think about COVID as well. So, of course, it's harder to have these two issues, one over the other, but we'll get through this. We have processes in place. We're all working together. We have contingencies in place. And what we need right now is for folks to also be prepared. And so, again, anyone living along the coast, please make those preparations. Assume as if you were going to be asked to evacuate, because if you are, it's going to be a very quick turnaround. Let's hope it doesn't happen. There's a good chance that it may not. But we have to be prepared, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst.
Thank you. Now, KPRC question for the mayor. The Firefighters Union claims there are 21 evacuation boats in the Houston Fire Department's inventory, but there are only plans for 2 of them to be staffed and ready to go. Why? So they're saying that the inventory has 21, but they're only plan to use 2.
Well, let me just say, number one, let's not politicize this crisis, okay? This is the worst time to do that, and you can't politicize every crisis, whether it's COVID or whether we're dealing with hurricanes. And we're more than prepared. Chief, you want to address that?
Can you repeat the question for me, please?
Yes, of course. The Firefighters Union claims there are 21 evacuation boats in the Houston Fire Department's inventory, but there are only plans for 2 of them to be staffed and ready to go. Why?
No, so here, let me set the news straight, okay? We have 10 high water vehicles that are functional in place. We're ready to deploy. We have 20 boats that are also in our inventory that are ready to deploy. We have an 80-member water strike team that is ready to deploy. But again, our preparations are going to be, and our staffing up is going to be based on the anticipated risk and the anticipated hazard that we expect based on the storm. So all those assets are in place right now. They're operational. Our firefighters are motivated. They're well trained. They've done all the operational checks. We're ready to deploy and staff up as we need, and everything is ready to go. So whoever's saying anything different is not well informed.
Thank you. Juez Hidalgo, en español, estas son preguntas de Telemundo. En caso de evacuaciones, ¿cuántos albergues y dónde estarán localizados? ¿Y bajo qué medidas por el coronavirus?
Bueno, en caso de evacuaciones, lo que se le dirigirá a la población es decir, alejarse de la costa, pues, donde tengan familia, donde tengan conocidos. Tendremos también albergues a lo largo del área que ya ha designado la Cruz Roja. Tenemos docenas, más de 70 posibles lugares de albergues, a todo a lo largo de la comunidad. Y la idea es intentar priorizar albergues tipo hotel, situaciones donde no van a estar muchas familias en el mismo sitio con mucho contacto. Recuerden, la evacuación sería simplemente para aquellas comunidades viviendo a lo largo de la costa. Entonces, las buenas noticias es relativamente bajo el número de personas que tendrían que evacuar, pero sí estamos preparados para eso. Hay albergues, la recomendación sería alejarse. Si tiene familiares, bien; si no, les ofrecemos también opción de albergue de refugio. Todo eso se ha practicado con el COVID en mente. Esperemos no tenerlo que hacer, pero por ahora lo que nos puede ayudar la población es estar listos, es prepararse para la posibilidad de que sea necesario evacuar. Cualquier persona viviendo a lo largo de la costa debe estar listo para una orden de evacuación, tal vez en algún momento mañana. No sabremos sino hasta la mañana cuál va a ser el pronóstico final, y base en eso tomaremos una decisión.
Thank you. Now from KHOU, since Harvey, what flood control projects have been completed that could help lessen the impact of this storm?
Yes, it's tough, you know, that we're seeing the 3-year anniversary of Harvey coming up, and now we have this hurricane coming. We've been working so hard on our resilience, on our flood control projects in Harvey. We've already disbursed more than $400 million in projects, already implemented, widened bridges across along our bayous, detention basins in all corners of our county. Huge progress in our Clear Creek project in southeast Harris County. Every area of the county you look at, those projects are moving at top speed. All of the communities in unincorporated Harris County who flooded due to drainage, not so much due to the channels and the bayous, but due to poor drainage during Harvey or during Imelda, are now on track for that drainage to be improved. That's where Harris County controls the drainage in unincorporated areas. So that's all to say we've made a lot of progress, recovering the damage that was done during Harvey, pretty much 100% complete, and on top of that, we have made a lot of progress. Are we completely prepared to not have any flooding impacts? No. We are catching up to decades of not enough aggressive flood control, and so it's going to take some time for those projects to be completed, but we're moving them as fast as humanly possible. And remember, last year we also enacted the most stringent detention requirements possible under the law in Harris County, so no longer can people build in a way that's going to flood their neighbors downstream. And we've asked all of the cities within Harris County that if they want to partner with Harris County on flood control projects, they need to adopt similarly stringent detention requirements. We're doing all we can. It's going to take a while to get there, but we're moving as quickly as possible. And for now, we got to focus on, though, is the current storm, the possible response to the storm. Folks can see all of our progress on flood control at Ready Harris and our Harris Thrives website as well, that has a breakdown of every single project, how it's going, where the funds are coming from, and when it will be finished.
And one more question from KHOU. What kind of conversations have been happening between the city and county leaders and the petrochemical industry to avoid another situation like the Arkema explosions and fires during Harvey?
That's, of course, we live in the shadow of industry, and we learned that not just during Harvey, but ITC last year. If you all remember last March, a massive plume all throughout our county, and we did an independent study. We learned that there's quite a ways to go for Harris County on preparedness, so we made a historic investment in monitoring in Harris County. Some of those monitors are already deployed, which means it's easier for us to at least make sure that we are holding folks accountable who tried to pollute our water and our air. And so those conversations are being had. We will be monitoring air and water, and we have a county attorney's office that we have empowered to make sure that they go after the bad actors so that there's a level playing field and those who do play by the rules aren't put at a disadvantage. It's part of a broader challenge for our region, is that we are vulnerable to some of these environmental impacts, and so we have to continue working on that, making sure that everybody is informed of the risks, that everybody's playing by the rules. But we'll be there watching, and we're in constant communication to take all precautions. Industry, of course, is enacting their contingency plans for hurricanes, and we ask them, of course, to be responsive, not just to their bottom line, but to the community and to the environment as well as they plan for that.
Thank you. Just the last question from KHOU. If evacuations happen, what should residents expect on the freeways with the traffic and the activity, and how will you move people that need to be evacuated, especially given?
If evacuations happen, of course, we'll see an uptick in traffic, but we have a strategy for phased evacuations. We don't expect that the vast majority, anywhere close to a large portion of the county, would have to evacuate. It would be only those folks along the coast. Of course, some of our neighboring counties are already looking at possible evacuations too, but as they go first, farther in line is a little bit later, so there's a plan to try and aim for not too many traffic impacts. Now, let's not get ahead of ourselves. For right now, what we need folks to do is be prepared in the event of an evacuation. We won't have a whole lot of time to say let's go, but right now we're still watching the forecast. In terms of being able to transport medically fragile folks or folks who have issues with mobility, we do ask folks to, and Mayor Turner mentioned this, call 211 and register for the program, for the STEER program. That will help us identify who you are, and we already have a lot of that, folks who through the various crises have already registered with us, and so we'll be checking in on seniors, we'll be checking in on folks with disabilities, we'll be checking in on folks with mobility issues and making sure that we're supporting them if need be, if they were to need to evacuate or more generally during the issue. So now is also a good time for folks to go to 211, go to readyharris.org and register for those programs so that we have that contact information and we can make those resources directly available to you.
I certainly want it to be very clear. I think for Houstonians and probably most people in Harris County, the key now is to make sure that you have what you need if you're going to be at home, for example. And so, and that's water, food, your medicine, masks, things of that nature, sanitizers, because at this point, those who have been talking about evacuations have been like in Chamber, Port Arthur, Galveston area. So we'll know tomorrow. We'll know tomorrow, certainly by this time, where things are, where things stand, and even then the window is very, very short. But for today, and then moving forward, take a look around your home. to make sure that things are pretty much, you don't have anything that the wind can just pick up and just serve as a missile, those type of things. So just be prepared, monitor, be prepared, because, you know, these storms can move a little bit to the left or more to the right. So at this moment, until we know more, sometime tomorrow, just kind of be very careful and monitor weather reports, but be prepared.